Hello, Elvis Presley fans. Here is part 8 of Priscilla Presley and All of Her Lovers Before Elvis. This was based upon the book Child Bride and testimony of Curry Grant, who was a friend of Elvis Presley's, as well as high schools and junior high school schoolmates of Priscilla Presley, who were there firsthand. Not us, but they were there firsthand. So here we go. Corey, who was close to both Priscilla and Tom, said they spent the night together more than once, with Priscilla using the familiar ruse that she was a sleepover. That was plausible, for Ronnie remembered a slumber party at her house that Priscilla and Liz Williams attended, and they both snuck out the window, and they came back the next morning about the time that my daddy was getting up to go golfing. Al added that the old man, Paul
to pull
Belu,
Priscilla
would
away
call
from
the air
Tommy.
police. That doesn't sound like an innocent relationship, does it? Priscilla and Tom were in their own world that fall, the first semester of her junior year, his last year of high school, just as they had been during Priscilla's freshman year and part of 10th grade. They had broken up, and of course Priscilla went with some other guys and supposedly were intimate with those as well. Sometime after Christmas, however, the relationship fell apart again. Another Spartan gang member, Tom Muldoon, insisted that Tommy ended the relationship and that Priscilla was crushed. Barney thought otherwise. Tom was really torn up about her. I think he'd gone out with her all total 2.5 years at least. Broke his heart, the poor guy. Sounds like Priscilla was a wrecker back then. Something unexpected and extraordinary happened around this time that precipitated a breakup. Elvis, who had called Priscilla less than 10 times since he left Germany, that's literally in the middle of the freshman year, that's 4 years, 10 times. Doesn't sound that serious on Elvis' side, does it? Suddenly telephoned one afternoon in February or March saying he wanted Priscilla to visit him in Los Angeles, where he was shooting a film. Priscilla had not seen Elvis Presley in 2 years, had not expected ever to see him again. It had been months, she stated later, since we last spoke. Elvis up to then was a black and white glossy tape to her mirror. She would sit in class sometimes. Priscilla said to Barney, basically, it's just a dream. And she also would just basically say that to herself. By her own description, she was unprepared for and flustered by his sudden invitation. According to her memoir, Priscilla did not give Elvis an immediate answer. It was Paul Belu who got on the telephone and began negotiating with the star. I want to stop right there. So here is another plausible reason why Priscilla Presley would be having relationships in high school like a lot of normal girls do. Because first off, 10 times since the middle of the freshman year. So literally 2.5 years, something like that. And she probably wouldn't have thought that Elvis was really serious about her. And then on top of it, if she was promiscuous before, to get that meet and greet with Elvis Presley, and then promiscuous with Elvis, and did do the things that she was said to have done with Curry Grant and the other guys that we're going to talk about in the upcoming videos. I don't know why Priscilla fans would not understand the concept of that. So by her own details that she's been given in her own book, The Elvis and Me, and then of course the testimony that she did for this book with the Suzanne Finstead and Curry Grant, Priscilla Presley's all over the place with details of what happened, when they happened. She doesn't have a very good memory, and obviously I don't know whether it's a convenient not a good memory or whether it's intentionally not a good memory, but like I said, this whole book is very believable, and people don't go on their record to ruin their own lives. This was not one of those gigantic Elvis movies by Baz Luhrmann that's going to pay somebody a ton of money for them to come sit down. Curry Grant, wanted to tell his story. The other guys that talked in the story, as well as the girls, they weren't getting paid a bunch of money. I mean, I'd be surprised if they got paid anything. So let's go ahead and read a little bit more. So Priscilla's father conducted the negotiations more befitting of a talent agent, hammering out fine prints of a performance contract and a strict father word about his daughter's honor. Now, of course, he wouldn't worry about his daughter's honor for the fact that when she was 14, she was essentially going over 3 to 4 nights a week over to Elvis's house until 2 o'clock in the morning. Plus, at this point in time, she'd snuck out. She'd gotten caught by police officers, sneaking out of boys' windows and dorms, all that stuff. Basically, he asked for a first-class round-trip plane ticket for Priscilla, a 2-week stay in L.A. once school was out for the summer, an itinerary, and unspecified chaperones. Barney laid the blame for Priscilla's breakup with Tom on the Elvis factor. So his unexpected reemergence in her life that spring had coincided with basically the end of Priscilla Presley's and Tom's relationship. Paul accepted Elvis's offer in March, yet interestingly, Anita Wood remembered finding a letter from Priscilla in Elvis's study in May while he was on location filming Blue Hawaii. So the reality was that Priscilla was basically dating nonstop from the time that Elvis left. And the book states that if she withdrew, it's only because of her breakup with Tom Stewart. Her dating marathon that spring was the behavior of a teenage girl on the rebound. What was interesting about her fictional version, however, was Priscilla's choice of words, calculating or manipulating my own feelings. For that was what she would soon do, except, ironically, it would be with respect to Elvis. Priscilla selected as her first candidate to make Tom Stewart jealous a conservative BMOC named Mike Kimball, an all-around jock, the later voted senior. The type that normally produced yawns in Priscilla but was certain to ignite Tom. The Spartans, Tom's fellow gang members, were not real pleased with me taking her out, to be honest, Mike admitted. Priscilla, he recounted, consorted with a different crowd, Tom Stewart's crowd. The girls puffed their hair up like the Germans. They wore their hair in, I would say, like a beehive. And she ran around with some of the kids who wore leather jackets and sort of dark clothing. They weren't really involved in any school activities. I played football and ran track and wrestled. Priscilla, Mike confirmed, did not go out with him to please or appease her parents. The Belows, or whatever, he recalled, treated him with veiled disdain when he arrived to pick up Priscilla, just as they had all of her suitors with the exception of Elvis. I wasn't welcome. Her father didn't sit in the living room and talk. I just wanted to get out of there, Mike shared. The impression that Priscilla's parents actually discouraged her from dating high school boys, I think they found excuses for her to be involved in the home, things like babysitting, which would be a logical excuse when you couldn't go out. The dates with Mike Kimball were not solicited for Priscilla's amusement, for she was bored senseless, according to Ronnie, who double dated with them. Mike was an absolute all-American apple pie kind of guy, just precious, but that did not turn her on. I remember the double date. She would look at me and make these little eyebrow lifts. And the book goes on to say, despite her lack of interest, Priscilla was characteristically responsive to Mike's sexual advances. If you went out with her, you made out. I mean, we didn't have intercourse. And I'm not sure at that age that I was initiating anything like that. That may have contributed to Priscilla's boredom. For the boys that Priscilla had dated, Tom, Peter von Witchmore, and their ilk, were known for exploring deeper sexual waters. And Priscilla was their companion in danger. My father's dead, remarked Mike, but my mother still jokes about the fact that my dad enjoyed my bringing Priscilla over because her dresses were so tight. So those Priscilla defenders that keep saying, oh, such a good Catholic girl, such a good Catholic family, none of this stuff could ever happen. You're ignoring all the facts that are there. Priscilla endured only so many dates with Mike before she flitted from Spartans Joe Delahunt to Danny Mason to Spider Murphy, also accepting a date or two with boys outside the gang, such as Daniel Dodd. Spider, ooh, Ronnie recalled gleefully, he was sort of the leader of the outlaws. Most of the Spartans, Tom Stewart among them, were also members of the Teen Auto Club, or TAC. Both groups wore special jackets with secret insignias, a self-proclaimed wild bunch of Wiesbaden, racing cars, smoking cigarettes, quaffing cognac, and having sex. Priscilla and Spider doubled one night with Ronnie and another TAC member, Bruce McKay. He took us around the Nürburgring Ring. Nürburgring was a racetrack over there that Steve McQueen had raced several times, so they had a course mapped out there in Wiesbaden that was dangerous. I still cannot believe drinking beer and riding with those guys around that course. Priscilla had to slip out of the house for these adventures, sometimes borrowing clothes from Ronnie, but she was fearless. She took Ronnie to a few parties given by the brother of another friend, Becky Lippett, and they were wild, Ronnie had recalled. Yet she also managed to project the tender innocence Elvis found so beguiling. Ron Red was a football player who'd had his eye on Priscilla since her freshman year and could not believe anyone so refined would date Tom Stewart. That was a perplexing question. Why was she attracted to him? So anyway, that's gonna wrap up this part 8, and then we'll have part 9 tomorrow. I think there's a lot of good questions that are answered here. There's more and more evidence that Priscilla Presley was attracted to the bad boy type, and that she hung around with all the bad elements. So when you hang out with all the bad elements, and you combine that with the fact that her family let her go see Elvis till 2 o'clock in the morning while he was there. Then also combine that with the fact that in her book she talked that she only dated guys to appease her parents, but her parents, from what these guys say, and all of Priscilla's girlfriends, they didn't want her dating anybody, and she had to sneak out and stuff. So it's just not the truth. It just seems like such a made-up story that Priscilla made up in Priscilla and Me. And of course, this new Priscilla movie that's out. TCB, TLC, make sure you like, comment, share. Become a member. That helps the channel, or you can also send a thanks to the channel. God bless. Till next time.